Story 1. I have type 1 diabetes. I have had it for 26 years now, and it is taking its toll on me. I am losing feeling in my toes, experiencing changes in eyesight, and constant nerve pain. I can feel my body giving way, and I am only 37. Living in the United States with type 1 diabetes has been very difficult. I have had to go without my insulin for a week. I nearly died. I definitely should have. The pain was unlike anything I had experienced before, and I would not wish it on my worst enemy. I am very tired. I do not know how much longer I can keep up this fight, but I will keep fighting until this disease finally takes me. Story 2. This fat suit I am currently trapped in is hell physically, mentally, and socially. Menopause is absolute nonsense, and nobody warned me. Story 3. A room with a Canadian goose at every exit, so I will never be able to leave. There is nothing wrong with the room. It is just a room. But man, forget those geese. Story 4. I wanted to be a mother since I was 14. I became pregnant at 16, got married, and had 3 children. The third one almost caused me to die. After revival, they tied my tubes, or these children would have grown up without a mother. 10 years later, guess what? 2 more children. Good thing I wanted kids, right? Number 5 leaves home. Take a deep breath. Enjoy life. A year later, I got custody of my grandchildren. That lasted 3 years. Then they went back to their mother. I got them permanently last year because no one else wanted them. So here I am at 60, still a mother of young children. I wonder what God will do when the kids wake up and I have died in my sleep of old age. My father says being a mother is my vocation. Story 5. Going into my backyard and my neighbors who are also in their backyard take that as an opportunity for conversation. Story 6. The idea of losing my father is unbearable. I never want to see that day, and if it comes, it probably will not be a long day for me. Story 7. When wet hair clings to me, like when I shed hair in the shower and it sticks to my body or hands, I feel like I am in hell. Story 8. Trying olives multiple times a year to see if I finally like them. I see people who eat olives, and they seem to find them addictive. For me, the moment I bite one and taste it, I gag. Story 9. I buried my infant son in 2018, and now my husband and I are on a trajectory to divorce after being together for 15 years. Story 10. Being in an enclosed space with no fresh air, feeling nauseous with a severe headache, and hearing screams of agony and anguish. Story 11. Sitting in an economy seat for more than 15 hours, hitting my foot on the corner of the bed, bad diarrhea, lack of sleep, forgetting headphones on a long commute. Story 12. Being a caregiver for my mother during and after COVID-19 was challenging. Dementia was in full swing. She was overweight and had failing hips and knees. She did not want to go to a nursing home, so I retired early and became her full-time nurse, cook, and financial manager. My personal struggle was acting like none of it bothered me while having no one to help me. She passed away a couple of years ago. Story 13. Those rare occasions when I have to work with children for my job, I really dislike it. Fortunately, it happens very rarely. Story 14. Hating law because I was forced to pursue it. Doing a master's in something else now. Still indulge with legal questions now and then because I am used to the mental strain. Story 15. Creative blocks and lack of creative discipline. Between writing burnout and lack of focus on one project, not much gets done. Story 16. The complete and total apathy I had to teach myself in order to protect myself, and I cannot turn it off. Story 17. When my work requires only my hands and feet, but I cannot have headphones or conversation to occupy my mind during an 8 to 12-hour shift, 5 times a week, for less than $15 per hour. Story 18. Probably being naked in a coffin lined with spikes filled with molten sugar while it spins at high speeds. That or working a minimum wage job I hate without any appreciation. That also sucks, I guess. Story 19. Being overweight and having fought with kids at school because of it. Now I have a coworker who calls me every insult related to my weight, and I cannot do anything without risking serious consequences. Human resources is unhelpful. Story 20. Florida. I have been trying to leave this unpleasant state. I dislike it here and am saving up money to move. Story 21. My chronic depression, which I try to hide at work as best I can, makes me feel unfit for the task of caring for my two little girls. I have been fighting against my highly addictive tendencies for years, but I am only losing the battle. Story 22. Deal with my decisions that I made out of love. I studied a career to please someone and to advance, but I couldn't even get close to the latter. Now, I don't know what to do with my life anymore. Story 23. Whenever someone over-explains. I once had a doctor who really over-explained for about an hour. I wanted to die. Story 24. My obsessive-compulsive disorder. I have been fighting this condition since I was 12 years old. I am close to 30 now. I still relapse multiple times a year despite trying my hardest. Story 25. Bedtime. Lying there for hours and not falling asleep. Checking the time after finally getting annoyed with lying there staring at the back of my eyelids to see it has been 3 hours and I still have not fallen asleep. Story 26. Knowing that I am constantly being monitored by a device that is basically impossible to live without anymore. The algorithms get scary sometimes. I question how much I can actually trust any company to handle my privacy. I cannot. Story 27. My broken body and troubled mind. I feel disappointed every morning when I wake up to face it all again. Story 28. Anxiety caused by a lack of social experience due to growing up locked indoors because of my very strict mother. Also, debt. Story 29. Physically not being able to enjoy things as I should. Even after being medicated for depression all these years, the color of life only comes to me occasionally. It is deeply depressing to say all of that knowing I am too young to feel that way. The medications never made me enjoy life. They just kept me from ending it. Sometimes that feels like all society needs from me. Story 30. When someone offers me something I have never eaten before and I have no idea what the ingredients are, and for some reason they refuse to tell me, I hope they choke on their food. Story 31. A world full of 80-plus-year-olds. Take me out if I ever start getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner at Stewart's. Story 32. Feeling any type of nausea, even if it is not caused by sickness, completely shuts me down and makes me want to die. Whether it is from heartburn, a hangover, or eating unusual food, any form of nausea affects me deeply. Story 33. I like writing and I have finished my first book, but I do not think it will sell. Do I really want to dedicate another 2 years of my life to writing another book that will simply fail? Even though I enjoy it, writing is hard work and stressful. Maybe I should just enjoy other things instead. Am I really not good at something I like to do? Story 34. I have lost a little over 100 pounds in a year. It has been progressing steadily until recently. I have been stuck at 340 to 345 pounds for months. I exercise and alternate one meal a day with a low-carbohydrate diet. Nothing seems to change my weight anymore. However, there is no plateau going back up. This is very frustrating. Story 35. Corporate meetings that could have been an email. I swear people do not read the emails, which creates confusion. This then has to be rehashed in a meeting repeatedly as people are added to the email chain. Story 36. Being in the center lane in a traffic jam, I would rather be stuck in an elevator on the 44th floor because at least I could move my legs. Story 37. I am a 42-year-old male and recently experienced vertigo for the first time in my life. It was absolutely terrifying. The spinning continued relentlessly. It lasted 2 hours and was horrible. There was nothing I could do to make it stop. I would not wish it upon anyone. If you have never had it, consider yourself lucky. Story 38. When I am trying to sleep, I think of a memory from my day. It quickly zooms in, showing melted screaming faces with blood dripping, screaming for mercy. The crying turns into evil laughter, consumes me, and the cycle continues. Story 39. Religious people who are extremists do not respect my boundaries and bring religion into everything. A doctor successfully saving a life in an impossible surgery must be God and not just the doctor's skill. It does not help that I have religious trauma. Story 40. realizing almost 10 years too late that the girl I thought was a little weird would turn out to be the girl I wanted most. Story 41. Giving myself plenty of time to sleep but waking up at the crack of dawn anyway, resulting in 4 to 5 hours of sleep without going back to sleep. Story 42. Insomnia is the condition of trying to sleep and wanting to sleep but never truly being able to do so. Even if I manage to fall asleep, I am never truly rested, and it has been that way since I was a baby. Story 43. To relive my binge drinking days when I was in university, I used to wake up with a feeling of dread, trying to piece together the events of the previous night, knowing I had blacked out and embarrassed myself in front of university friends and coworkers from a bar where I worked at the time. It was an absolutely wretched feeling of embarrassment and shame going into work or university after I had gotten blackout drunk and humiliated myself. Story 44. Nothingness. Eternity. Something like being adrift in space with no control of my body, if I even have one. Just observing, thinking for a long time, being buried alive but unable to die, just thinking that there is no end. Story 45. I am 20, turning 21, and I still do not know what career or path I want, although my graduation is next year. Story 46. Big social events make me feel out of place, especially if I do not know most of the people. I have a hard time starting a conversation from scratch. I feel uncomfortable trying to join a conversation that is already in progress. I also feel guilty for walking around aimlessly without socializing. Story 47. My own little hamster on the wheel. That's like the Energizer bunny that just keeps going and going. Story 48. Bright room, random flashing lights, full of loud people. I would absolutely have a meltdown and most likely seize. Story 49. My adopted children, now adults who were adopted as teenagers from foster care, remind me constantly that I am not their mother. It does not matter how much I act like a mother, or that they wanted to be adopted, or that I have been loving and kind. I am not their biological mother, so I am just the kind woman who took them in. I will never have biological children. They are my only children. However, the only person who truly thinks we are a family is me. I try not to let it affect me. I know they have experienced a lot of trauma, but at least once a month, one of my 4 children will say or do something to remind me how little they think of me. Story 50. Loud people disturb me when I am trying to sleep. It makes me feel very angry. I wish I could just black out the moment I hit the bed. That would be wonderful. Story 51. Just happened last week. Sitting on a plane on the tarmac for 2 hours on a delay in Denver. A screaming baby in front of me, 2 screaming kids an aisle over, my seatmate eating raunchy stinky food, and I forgot to bring a water bottle. At least I had a window seat and my headphones were fully charged. Story 52. Being stuck, unable to work, socialize, or even function independently due to overwhelming anxiety, while also believing that it is a good thing because it prevents you from ending your life. Story 53. Being hungover at an amusement park on a really hot and sunny day, crowded with stylish Generation Z individuals wearing bored expressions, and then riding every single roller coaster to try to satisfy your depressed friend. Story 54. Sounds and noises surround me. I hear neighbors, city sounds, and device sounds. Unfortunately, I have a disorder related to this. Story 55. Constantly sticky hands, surrounded by non-stop chewing sounds while unpleasant TikTok and blue sky comments are being beamed directly into my brain. Story 56. Relying on gig work because the job and housing economies are rigged against homeless and mentally ill individuals. I am working 16 hours a day to try to get housing, but employers do not see that as sufficient. Story 57. A room full of suffering animals. Being in a room with only one suffering animal is different. It is a deep sadness. I lose sleep over roadkill. Story 58. Social anxiety is much better since I was diagnosed and began therapy. I still struggle in some situations from time to time, such as large gatherings, traveling, and asking girls out. This is why friendship and love do not come easily. Story 59. Inconsistent physics. I have a very poor sense of intuition and rely on logic and reason to do things. A life where the rules are so inconsistent that logic and reason cannot be reliably applied would be miserable beyond description. Story 60. Sitting at the kitchen table with my family. I love them, but they chew loudly, and I want to bang my head against the table. Story 61. I have bad knees. They hurt if I do not pop them regularly, and the longer I go without, the more they hurt. One of the most torturous things I have experienced, aside from intense pain like a toothache, is being stuck in a car or on a plane for hours where there is not quite enough legroom to pop my knees. Story 62. I once took a bus ride that was supposed to be 5 hours but turned into 12 because the road collapsed, and we had to reroute around a mountain and travel through the Amazon. The bus does not stop after dark for safety reasons, and these roads were rough. I didn't have enough water. I was dripping in sweat because of the heat and humidity. I threw up twice from a combination of heat and motion sickness. There was no bathroom. Where did I throw up? In my own mouth, and swallowed it because the only thing worse than being packed into a sauna on a roller coaster of a road is smelling hot vomit for the next 5 hours. The worst part? The most unbearable aspect? They played Fast and Furious 9 the entire time on repeat. I honestly thought I was in hell. I thought I had died, and for the rest of eternity, I was going to be in that seat in the dark with nothing but the glow of Fast and Furious to break the night and my own vomit as my only source of sustenance. Story 63. Becoming a drug addict and being homeless, having many children with different fathers, having to move back in with my parents, and facing various avoidable problems. Story 64. Everyone saying work and rat race is probably getting chased by clowns while naked and set on fire. That sounds more like hell than working in an office. Story 65. Definitely borderline personality disorder or mental health in general, as there is no escape. It does not matter if you are shopping, at work, or in bed. It is always there. Story 66. I worked in an environment where management insisted I was not getting anything right, refused to elaborate or give feedback, then promoted the person I caught coming into work with a thermos full of vodka to my boss. Also, 65-hour work weeks. Story 67. Not wanting to live but worried that an attempt to end my life might fail and leave me still alive but in worse condition than before. Story 68. Living in California is challenging. It is too expensive and too crowded. The voters and politicians often make poor decisions. However, moving is costly and the weather is good. It is a difficult situation. Story 69. Being the center of attention. I got married via webcam during coronavirus, but I was preparing to go to the courthouse before the lockdown. To stand on a stage and give a speech, walk down the aisle, and stand up front with all eyes on me would be absolute hell for me. Story 70. Listening to people eat or people eating with their mouths open. People eating during a meeting, in college during class, training, or a workshop. Story 71. Being in an open office where a radio is set to the commercial station that plays half a dozen songs at least twice a day, every day, and reviews this list maybe once a year. Story 72. I was there for a few years after my divorce. Too much alcohol. Too much chasing women. Not anymore. Story 73. Internal monologue. I am still amazed that not everyone experiences it. I am constantly struggling with my internal monologue. Story 74. Mental isolation makes me feel like I can't relate to anybody except people I have never met, such as Kurt Cobain, Elliott Smith, and Earl Sweatshirt. Story 75. Social anxiety and being very attracted to someone. People complicate my life in general, let alone wanting to live with someone. Story 76. I just experienced mine. My sister was driving my car as it reached 100,000 miles. I am unable to drive due to foot surgery, and she drives me to my appointments. To make things worse, we did not even notice it until after the moment had passed. Story 77. Feeling invisible and trapped within my own pain, struggling to be seen or heard while the world moves on around me. Story 78. Those tassels on the carpet. Are they orderly and even, or are they messy and chaotic? It is better to get up and make sure they are evenly spaced. Story 79. Right now it is waiting to heal. I am healing physically and mentally, and even though I see real progress, It makes me realize how far I let things go. It makes me realize how much more time I have to wait until fully healed and how much life I have already missed. Story 80, being rejected, whether personally or professionally. About a year ago, I stopped being a people pleaser. It is hard to put myself first, but I am working through it, and it has been and will continue to be a long, ongoing road. Story 81. What I am experiencing right now involves caring for a dog on expensive medication and an elderly parent who wants to be independent despite health issues. My financial situation has worsened, requiring a second job just to afford gas. Student loans are becoming more demanding. I feel stressed and anxious constantly, which affects my work performance. I am barely sleeping most nights, so yes, just fine. Story 82. Walmart checkout lines during the Christmas holidays, mainly on the 23rd or 24th for last-minute shopping and shoppers. That is my personal hell for sure. Story 83. To be in debt. Apart from my mortgage and student loan, which is not worth paying off in the United Kingdom, I have never been in debt. Story 84. School. All I want to do is play music, but I literally have band class once every 6 school days. Band is just messing around with my guitar for 40 minutes while trying to help others play a song I already know. Story 85. I have not had a panic attack for at least a year, but they are often related to military post-traumatic stress disorder. I am on medication. Story 86. Standing in a line that does not move with screaming children around me while feeling too hot and the fabric of my clothes irritating my skin. No, I am thankfully not a parent. Story 87. I am thinking if I made a wrong decision by leaving my job because of stress, lack of sleep, and health issues. No, I have a very good working environment, but the benefits are still better with my previous job, including salary and everything. However, I have time with my family and work from home, but my previous company is still on my mind. Story 88. I could not adequately describe just how fitting the timing of your post is for me at the moment, or how to describe the exact details of the specific personal hell I am now a permanent member of, to be honest. It is the absolute epitome of a relentless, unbearable, anguish-filled vicious cycle that just keeps on going and going. Story 89. Being stuck in a career I never wanted with no way out is painful. My parents lied to me and manipulated me about my studies. Every day feels like hell. I want nothing more than to quit, but I desperately need the money. I have to take medication every day just to avoid ending up in prison or under suicide watch. Story 90. When the kitchen printer stops working on a Saturday night and the servers are bad at handwritten tickets. Story 91. My life partner just broke up with me. We are locked into a lease for another year, and neither of us can afford to leave. Story 92. My own head and thoughts of death are not just for myself but sometimes for other people. I have feelings of love for things that glorify Satan, but I don't glorify Satan because I'm a Christian. Also, I am not sure if I want to be a Christian, but I do believe in God. I'm gay and have a boyfriend, but I still have crushes on other men who are fictional. I feel like a terrible boyfriend because of my fictional crushes, and I also have a celebrity crush on a woman, so I'm confused at this point. I don't know if crushes even matter in my life because I'm starting high school in the fall, and that is making my anxiety worse. I'm having crippling panic attacks almost daily because I have a panic disorder that makes me think I'm going to die at random times. I do have bad thoughts about death and sometimes think that death would be nice. I also have many hyperfixations that involve murder in some way. During a panic attack, I don't want to die, so I don't know what's going on. My medicine isn't working, no matter how much the doctor adjusts the dosage. Therapy does nothing because my therapist infantilizes me, but my friend's therapist is very helpful, and I wish she could be my therapist instead. I wish I were as cool as my friends because my parents don't allow me to do things like dye my hair or paint my nails since I'm a guy. Guys who paint their nails look so cool. I love Hot Topic, but I'm only allowed to buy fidget toys there. I'm autistic, so I have many fidgets. Lately, my hyperfixations have been so disabling that it's hard to focus on other things. And no, one understands that I can't stop myself from engaging in my hyperfixations. I have spent a lot of my free time isolating myself and hyperfixating. It's hard because I want people's company, but I'm lonely from isolating myself. Nobody cares about what I like, and my sister makes fun of me. One kid has been calling me slurs constantly, which I hate. My only real safe space is my voice teacher, but I only have half an hour with her every week. I have to sing and practice in that time, so I can't really talk to her. I wish I could see her more often, or at least for longer, because she is really kind and makes me happy, which is not something I feel often. People think I'm sad all the time because I have a resting sad face. I know I'm sharing a lot of negative things here, but please don't ban me from Reddit. I love it there. Otherwise, my life is good. I'm sorry for dumping this here, but I just needed to do it. Feel free to ignore this. Story 93. My current dilemma is as follows. I want to be a writer, but I cannot even find a regular job. That would be fine if I could say, well, I do not have a job right now, but I am working on my first book, and that will be my job one day. However, I cannot because I feel guilty when I do not have ideas every day. I feel like I should at least be doing well at that if I do not have a job. But I cannot find a job. I have an interview, and I have been rehearsing for it twice a day since I sent in my application. A friend works there and told me what questions to expect. It is not for lack of trying, so I cannot say that I am doing that to make money while writing my book either. Story 94. This sounds a little ridiculous, but right now I am coming to terms with the idea that I do not want any more children. One and done. Not because I do not necessarily want another, but because my logical brain keeps reminding me that I might not have the mental capacity and strength to take on another and remain a good mother to my son. What is worse is that my husband wants another, so the idea that I am stripping him of the larger family he always envisioned for himself hurts me a little. I also see everyone around me raising more than one, so it makes me feel like a failure of sorts, especially as a mother. The societal and familial pressure to have more than one is real. I hope to come to terms with it, make the decision to be done, and find peace soon because this limbo is weighing me down. Story 95. Has anyone seen the news lately? I am already living my personal hell. I saw it coming but hoped I could finish living before it got bad. Story 96. Understanding why my dad was so angry. Working hard until my knuckles bleed, then coming home to hear complaints about not having enough money to do anything fun. The bills are paid, there is food in the fridge and gas in the car. But it is not enough. Stop complaining. Story 97. Feeling suicidal but too afraid to act because of the consequences in the afterlife. I am so exhausted. Story 98. My former best friend abandoned me for the people who helped my sexual abuser. My personal hell would be seeing them together. Story 99. Stillbirth must be acknowledged. I was fortunate, though. My husband never blamed me for the loss, unlike most, and we were able to have a healthy son 3 years later. Story 100. Repetition, unfair mental load full of thoughts and memories, anxiety, and lack of emotional reciprocity. Story 101. Other than literal, it is bodily stress such as panic attacks and gastrointestinal issues. Feeling stuck with everything fallen or falling apart, with no escape. Story 102. I believe that heaven and hell are the same place, a realm where you live out simulations of memories or scenarios until you come to terms with what happened and are ready to move on to the next life. People can relive trauma and horrible events, indulge in good moments or fantasies, or decide they would like to reincarnate. It is neither punishment nor reward but rather therapy, a place to recuperate and recover between lives. Story 103. I dealt with sleep paralysis once or twice when I took Seroquel. It is so terrifying being trapped in your own body, unable to move or scream, and all you can do is go back to sleep and wake up later. Story 104. Being too autistic to function properly but not autistic enough to be excused from functioning normally, it is very hard to keep up with my peers. I am a 19-year-old male who is mentally about 14 or 15, yet I am expected to keep up with my classmates who are in their 20s. Story 105. When someone looks me in the eyes and starts freestyle rapping for what seems like forever, and I have to awkwardly smile and act like it is good. Story 106. In my 50s. Been feeling a little off. Long story short. Diagnosed with multiple sclerosis after months of tests and magnetic resonance imaging. Work hard every day. But all this is putting my brain through hell and the rest of my wife and family. Story 107. My constant self-doubt. This is after building a career as a neurologist, being an above-average medical student, and earning a scholarship to medical school. Story 108. Being forced to attend sporting events is boring, and I need to understand or be educated. Just let me be a nerd and like what I want. Who cares? A football player can never like what I like. They are born violent. Story 109. People, I never understood how to talk to others no matter how much I immerse myself and try new things. When I do end up in a conversation, I don't feel anything or any desire to continue the dialogue. It hurts because I want a connection with other human beings as our nature demands. I want to be able to both converse and enjoy conversations with others. Yet at this point, it feels like a pipe dream. Being an introverted recluse is very difficult. After many years of trying, I've started to relax my efforts and seek more solitude where I am not reminded of what I don't have. Maybe I can improve my circumstances, but at what cost? Once I accepted my nature rather than trying to change it, my suicidal thoughts became less frequent. I've become excited about life again, just not with people, unfortunately. It's not great, but it is better. Recently, I started going on excursions to the woods to camp alone and read my books in the forest. It is pretty thrilling. I just wanted to share this somewhere into the endless depths of the internet. If someone does happen to see this and think they should reply with words of encouragement such as, "Don't give up," I will roll my eyes and ignore it. Give me something more interesting than that. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.